Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks. Today we are going to be taking a look at another match on Bismuth Valley. We've got a real fun one lined up for you today. Bismuth Valley version, 2.2. I thought that was 1.2. Maybe they made an update while I wasn't looking. Version 2.2, going to be a wonderful map today. Oh wow, quite some lovely art here. Nice little submarine. Excellent. Spawning on the southeastern side, representing the blue team, it's going to be Chicken Lips, our Cortex commander for the day, going to be going right into those bots. Love to see it. Those grunts can be very powerful on the front lines. Excited to see what they get up to. All the way across the map, there they are, all the way in the northwestern corner, representing the red team as Armada, going right into vehicle bays after a couple of metal extractors, a solar panel, and some wind turbines. It's, of course, going to be Figus. Figus going into that vehicle bay. And it's pretty much what I would expect here on this map. Vehicles are very, very powerful on this map just because of how flat the terrain is for the most part. There are some hills here and there, so those vehicles can have a little bit of a problem on that, but typically they are a decent option, strategically speaking. Now, out on the map is a interesting decision that I always like to bring up because it's one of the things that makes this map so interesting. One of its uniquenesses is this area up here. So you can see that there's a set of 4 metal extractors there and 4 metal extractors here. These ones in the center of the map are worth more, so that's why I'm highlighting them. You can imagine that there would be 2 people fighting in this lane and 2 people fighting in this lane. However, the spawns don't really line up for that all too well because typically the player in this position for this match, for the blue team, it's going to be Frosty UI, and for the red team, it's going to be Nox. Wait, no, sorry, it's going to be Nacho Man. Is it going to be Nacho? Well, I guess it's up to these players, both of these players, right? But anyways, it's up to these players to determine exactly where the fighting is going to be. So there will usually be either 2 players up north and 1 player down south for each team, or 1 player up north and 2 players down south for each team. So it's interesting to see where that can happen. And sometimes we get a misalignment where 2 players will be up north for one team versus 1 player for the other, and vice versa. Interesting matchup, to say the very least. Down south, things are a little bit more well-defined here, as you can see that Prigozhin is going to be holding this lane. There is both this lane to worry about, and there's this lane to worry about. It's a little difficult to tell by the angle, but you can see that is a walkway that you can traverse right there. So you can actually go up, over, and around into your enemy's backline, and so that's always a viable option. It's one of those things that is catches players that haven't played this map all too often off guard, typically. In the middle of the map, very metal dense. You can see 2.8 on all these metal extractors, so well worth capturing all those. There's also other metal extractors here and there that are worth extra. You can see them highlighted around the map. Love the aggression that we're seeing here coming out of the red team. Resigio as well as Prigozhin were sending a couple of units across the map, trying to get some damage in. A couple of rovers looking for some metal extractors that they might be able to blast down with those top-mounted heat cannons, but not going to find all too much. Some ticks have made their way across the map here as well by Zlaxus, and they're going to try and find their way into the back lines here. A couple of them have found a metal extractor, so that's quite nice. These ones are going to change course and instead decide to head down south here and try and engage some of these enemies, but it looks like there's enough pawns and blitzes and all sorts of other stuff, oh my, to clean up all of these ticks. Yeah. At the very least, a decent scout, though, and that is important here. Finding out where your enemy is just as important as finding out what they're going for here. And this scout here on the red player is going to be well worth it. You can see already going into advanced solar panels. That's quite telling. That actually is a huge read because it says, hey, I'm going into vehicles and I'm also going into a very expensive T1 economy. So I'm not really going to have much metal on the front lines for fighting. And what it should tell his team right here is that essentially they are free to push as much as they want to. Now, Starfisher Echo is going to have a huge burden placed upon them by proxy of the fact that their teammate is going vehicles, so it's going to take them a while to get those vehicles out and running, and also just the fact that, again, they're going into those advanced solar panels, which I do not condemn. I think these are definitely the right move, but it's very metal dense, so you definitely want to get these metal extractors up and running as quickly as possible too, which it looks like Figus' commander will be doing, so all is well there. A little bit of an engagement over here. Pawn v pawn. A little tick was included there as well for that backstabbing damage. Flanking bonus is awarded depending on what angles you attack from. So if you have a unit that can speedily run past and do a little bit of damage, it's going to be able to trigger that flanking bonus, and your units are going to do quite a lot more. Pawns here running into the commander of Figus. He's going to D-gun down one and blast apart the other with his light laser arm-mounted cannon. and that will cement him on the front lines. Bite My Assets pushing pretty far forward here. Gonna set up a very aggressively positioned light laser tower defense. I wouldn't mind seeing that a little bit further back here, maybe right around that lane. It does prevent the metal extractors from coming up, which is ultimately the goal, but also it keeps you safe from any aggression from down south here like this, because they're going to have to climb up this hill. It'll slow things down, and I think it'll all be well. Still, of course, pushing a little bit further forward does afford you a bit more of a map advantage, and if you can claim these extra 2.8 metal extractors, it can also be well worth it. At this point, if I was Bite My Assets, I'd try to communicate to Zalaxius to just claim these metal points right here. Try and get these under control. That way, the metal income starts to flow in while it's being denied by this commander over here. Right now, we're just losing a lot of units on the front line, effectively for free. Not really what you really want here. Yeah, 3% on a commander for the entire army going down. Definitely not ideal. Flygus with plenty of power for those D-guns, of course, because of these advanced solar panels in the backline that are building up here. And you can see it takes a little while for this constructor to build these advanced solar panels, but it's not a huge drain on the economy. 4.2 metal per second and 57 energy per second. I mean, one solar panel essentially produces all the energy you're going to need. Two of them produces all the metal that you're going to need if you have a couple of energy converters up and running. It's a very, very slow but very steady way of increasing your overall energy production, and by proxy your total base production, right? Your total unit production, metal production, all that good stuff. I really like it here. Yeah, doing a good job of balancing on the front line. Because he was so aggressive with his commander on the front line, he was able not to take any damage in that early game. And that's going to come back to bite Zalaxius, who now is going to suffer with a bot versus vehicle matchup, which is always a little bit tedious. Front lines established in the middle of the map here. I think this is a good time for me to casually mention that there is the tournament coming up here very shortly. September 30th, which should be this Saturday as of recording this. But yeah, September 30th, 1300 GMT. That's 1300, whoops, that's 1300 GMT. That's the time that it's going to be. I will be present, if not casting. I will definitely be in the chat and interacting with everybody. It's going to be a really fun event, and I'm super, super excited to be there. It's going to be on the official Beyond Our Reason Twitch channel, so go there and check it all out. The other thing is that there's a brand new series starting up called Beyond Our Reason Nation Wars. And one of the fun features about Beyond Our Reason is the fact that it kind of tracks where you're tuning in from, so you can see these players from all over the world. I'm famously bad at calling out the right country to the flag. One of the skills that I feel like maybe 2 or 3 years into doing this, I might be incredibly fluent at, but at the time being, my American geology education is showing its ugly head here. And you can see I'm not very good at it. However, those Nation Wars people are the best of their nation reflected in the Beyond All Reason tournament, and so it is a whole lot of fun. It's like the Beyond All Reason Olympics. That's kind of how I think about it. I'll be posting videos, so all you have to do is stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button so you don't, miss any of those videos coming up here. And hit the like button if you are in support of that idea, or leave a comment down below. I appreciate all of it. Beamer turrets. Ooh, I really love that. Casual segue into the beamer turrets here. Very, very nice. There was, hold on, actually there's another thing I gotta grab. There's a whole nother event that's being organized. It is a 8v8 straights tournament, I think is what it was. 8v8 Supreme Straights tournament, and I believe I'll have a link to that down below in the description if you'd like to sign up for that. That is still somewhat in its infancy, but it does look like they're looking to start a more casual tournament up and running. That is, yeah, just a bit more welcoming. Not so much a pro league tournament, but instead just a tournament that anyone can feel happy to join in on. Anyways, I'll have the link to the Discord for all the information about that down below in the description. And I think with that, we are done with the shoutouts for today. It's like rock, paper, scissors, kind of. Heavy laser tower beats the beamers. The beamers beat the light infantry, and the light infantry beat the heavy laser tower. With that heavy laser tower taking down the beamers, it will mean that these infantry are free to march in. However, there is an overwatch coming up quite quickly here for Prigazin. It will finish up here shortly. Ooh, it's going to start blasting away at its own wreckage, and that tower will go down before it manages to get much value out. That is a bummer because it has quite a lot of metal pumped into that T1 defense. Overwatch area control laser tower. Huge swarm of Janisses coming in here. That's, I mean, yeah, that hits pretty hard. Now, Chicken Lips is making the right decision here to push into this. It's very easy to lose half your army to those Janus shots and feel discouraged, but if you're gonna fight Janisses, you essentially have to commit all the way, because if you don't, yeah, you're going to find that suddenly they've gotten all their shots off and they've retreated back, and then they've gotten the chance to reload all of their magazines again. It's a very tricky situation. All right, so it looks like we've settled on 2 players up north and 1 player down in the lowland mid area. Interesting to see, at the very least here. That is quite interesting. An agitator up here on the mountain being built by this constructor. Didn't even realize you could do that, but that is a cheeky little play, and I really like it. Frosty UI bringing out all the stops here. Yeah, not bad. The area on that is quite good. Yeah, it can fire away at a lot of these LLTs over here, and certainly is going to force Nacho Man back off at least a little bit here. Would love to see these metal extractors coming up for toxic farts, but they might have been harassed down already by these rocketeers, so difficult to get those up and running, but certainly well worth trying because it's so much metal coming into your bank. That being said, yeah, I think the red team is doing a great job of pressuring back the blue team, making sure that they don't have a chance to grab all the metal from these 2.8 metal extractors, and that is definitely going to be an advantage eventually. Need to see this one locked down. Would love to see this one locked down. Well, that's going to be a whole lot trickier. Yeah, it's a tricky balance, but I think it's definitely doable here. Definitely doable. And now the vehicle army for Ficus has spiraled out of control. We have Janices, Blitzes, Shell Shockers, Whistlers, all of the good stuff in a big old composition up here. That's what we love to see. Compositions typically beat spams, and yeah, you can see that these Whistlers are doing a great job, giving enough vision for those Shell Shockers to fire away more than effectively. Blitz, of course, included for that firepower, that just close-range firepower, that anti-swarm firepower, and then the Janices even more so. Janice is looking for that connection, but they don't have the range, and those missile trucks are going to whittle them down slowly, piece by piece, chipping off paint until only all that remains are a smoking corpse and a husk of what formerly was known as a Janus. Rocketeers firing into the thugs here. Not bad. Rocketeers do a decent job at killing thugs. You just have to micro them properly. Grunts jumping on top of all of this, though, and that is going to be a huge chunk of this army being wiped away here by the forces of blue. Definitely a very cost-effective trade, and I'm sure that Chicken Lips is more than happy to engage in this kind of engagement. Yep, those grunts are also just going to keep running by. Don't mind that whatsoever. There are maces walking out of the lab now. This is a very, very powerful unit right here. Slow and sturdy is the mace, but he is very powerful. Not to be underestimated whatsoever. Going to engage a whole bunch of these little grunts right here. Not bad. Grunts do manage to kill a couple of those metal extractors, but the maces are going to follow. They're going to try their very best to keep a clean eye out here to shut down all of those. But I think that was basically as good a defense as you could hope for. That was a lot of grunts running in right there, and that big swarm of units can easily melt through some of those units right there. So I think all said and done, that was probably pretty good. Centurion is out, and it's sort of like an upgraded grunt. He has a little more armor plating and has dual laser cannons on each arm, just like the grunt does. Just a bit more survivable, but a whole hell of a lot slower. So, you know, a little bit more difficult to deal with here. Pregason's commander is AFK on the front lines, and I really don't think that's what we want here. I think laser towers should be in order. Keep building a whole lot of them, maybe some anti-air towers as well. That is a massive cluster of Janus. My goodness. 20 Januses in total here. I mean, that's dangerous. That is dangerous. So there's a cloaked metal extractor here. What I think we're about to see is these Januses march forward. They're going to blow up the cloaked field, EMP all of themselves. The units are going to jump in here. Tank will collide with this army, but there's so much friendly fire from these Januses. I don't think that was as bad as it could have been, but it definitely wasn't perfect. Janus tend to friendly fire like crazy, and they're also very, very overkill, right? They will fire on the same unit regardless of whether it's been blown to smithereens or not. They see a target and they pull the trigger whether or not their brothers have shot at the same target or not. Also not afraid to shoot danger close. And these Januses are breaking the defensive line, but I don't know if it's doing it very efficiently. Yeah, kind of one thing at a time here. Their attention should definitely be split. Headshot is moving his commander in, but it definitely is a little bit risky here. There's more than enough Januses to fire on that commander and kill it. Ooh, some cherry D-guns right there, and that will shut down the vast majority of this Janus aggression, though. Very nicely done. That commander was definitely in a huge risk right there, but he did manage to D-gun down enough of those and shut down that play. Chicken Lips went into an air lab for some shuriken in order to shut down those Janus. That's a good option here. Good idea. And now the shuriken, of course, can be reused, and I'm sure they will down in the southern field, paralyzing whatever they can, trying to get a decent engagement. Massive breakaway here in the center of the map. Looks like Frosty UI has sent a whole bunch of medium tanks through. The answer here, the reason why these medium tanks were able to break through is because there was a lack of reinforcements explained by the upgrade to T2 here. So a T2 lab in the background, a T2 constructor working away at those T2 metal extractors. Wouldn't mind seeing that thing sniped out of the air here, or out of the ground here. Yeah, I mean, the Fiends are pretty good at killing these things. They're a decent option against these medium tanks. Part of the reason is the fact that they're just sturdy enough to stand up the tank fire, but the other is that they're fast enough to avoid most of the tank fire, meaning that they can do a decent job of kiting around the tanks. They also, of course, do a decent enough amount of damage per second in order to melt them down quick enough that it would be sufficiently countered by the time that they get near the base. All said and done here. Not too bad. Not a tremendous loss for our, I guess, tan player, our light tan player, Dark 10. Not the end of the world by any means, but definitely going to need to get another constructor out, going to need to get some resbots out, eat up all this metal, turn it back into economy, because right now this player is criminally lacking in power production. Yeah, you can see these wind turbines in the back, but power is down to 2.5 right now, 2.6 right now. Very, very low. Commander was pushed forward here, and it will go down. That is the commander of Toxic Farts. Is that who that was? Interesting. Yeah, Toxic Farts commander was caught very far forward there. Not sure exactly why, but that commander was way out of place, and now these T2 Hounds are going to have a field day tearing through all of this T1 artillery. Yeah, Shell Shockers, well, Wolverines, I guess, the Cortex equivalent. Yeah, Wolverines, Lashers, all these level units in the early game fall rather quickly to those Hounds in the late game. Gauntlet doing its best to get a decent bit of fire on these units here. Not bad, yeah. Don't mind it. I definitely think that if we're going to be standing our units over here, we might as well stand them within firing distance. No reason that we should just, you know, have these units lingering around. Wouldn't mind seeing the Hounds switched over into their Gauss mode either. Makes it a lot easier for them to hit these fast targets, like these Blitzes, for instance. That being said, though, the Maces are going to be more than enough to shuttle this down where the Hounds fail. Yeah, Gauntlet is getting a decent amount of damage in there. Nice shot into the Lazaruses, and yeah, I mean that Gauntlet. I'm a big hater on the Gauntlet. I'm a big doubter. I don't think it's very useful a lot of the time, but certainly this one has gotten more than its fair share of kills here. 16 kills, a chevron to its name. Its max health is going up. Its reload is going down. Yeah, it's starting to get very good. Northern side looks decidedly won here by Ficus. Is moving in with a lot of these units. How is this not going to be a GG play? I know from the replay size that this is a longer one. Hope you have your popcorn and your drinky. Feel free to pause and go grab that now if you'd like to resume this. I know this replay goes on a little while longer, so I'm curious how on earth this is going to get shut down. I guess Ficus just deciding not to commit with this army here. It's a lot of missile trucks, but missile trucks definitely lose to a whole bunch of Januses. They're not quick enough to evade the Januses. Bite My Assets commander is right here, and Ficus knows it. Januses are going to connect. Yeah, all right. Commander does go down there for Bite My Assets, and that is going to be a huge hit to the frontline defense here for Bite My Assets. Minefield is out. These units were kind of parked on top of the minefield. That's unfortunate. Centurions are walking into these vehicles. Centurion's fast enough to keep up with the vehicles, but just barely. It's a slow race. It's a race of turtles. Bunch of breakaway Hounds also trying to sneak through here. They're just AFK, a little bit of an APM limitation there. APM stall, rather. Eventually, yeah, a lot of them are going to die to these medium tanks here. Interesting. Friendly fire also taking a tremendous hit out of these guys. Man, I think those definitely could have done a lot more damage if they had just kept moving. Unfortunate to see. This area of the map has been ravaged, and Resigio is going to be in charge of trying to reclaim a whole lot of it. You can see the commander trying to eat up a whole lot of these tanks right now. If we switch into our metal vision, you can see that there is over 5,000 metal laying around in this choke point on the map, and it's definitely going to be beneficial to whoever or whomever should capture all of that resource. Bring it back to their lab here. Hold My Weed is a bit far forward here, but I guess I don't mind it. If you're able to hold the position, I guess it's not too bad. Yeah, blue team looking dominative in the middle of the map, but definitely losing on the northern half. It's a bit of an odd swing, but it is a swing nonetheless. The blue team also collapsing the southern side as well. Chicken Lips putting up some defenses, getting a couple more heavy laser towers. Already has more than enough twin guards here. It's 2 twin guards and plenty of light laser towers. All this static defense in grand total, costing 2,085 metal. Definitely not too bad. When you compare that to the cost of an wait, is it an agitator? Well, it's dead over here. Never mind. Or I guess you could compare it to a gauntlet. 1,250 versus 2,000 for all of this static defense. I mean, it feels like this is worth a whole lot more, but it all comes down to just where and when you can use that long-range artillery plasma. You know what I mean? You're really focusing a lot more on lighter units when you're using the gauntlet versus heavier units when you're using a bunch of heavy laser towers. I wonder if, yeah, okay, so Starfisher Eco has gone into, Starfisher Echo, sorry, has gone into Starfisher Eco. I'm going to be building a fusion reactor here, getting up into a proper T2 late game economy. Meanwhile, wow, Ficus is already going into an advanced fusion reactor here. I mean, I guess so. How much metal in T1 do we have? Yeah, it's 6,660 metal in T1 advanced solar panels. That is enough to finish up this advanced fusion reactor. Wouldn't mind seeing some of these being eaten up here by the construction turrets, just to speed up that process a little bit here, since we already have so much energy. It's a saying that I am now adopting into my vernacular, because I really think it describes these lane maps really well, and it's that no one man is designated the techer, right? No one person is designed to go eco and told that they should go directly eco and greed as hard as they can. Going T2 is your reward for winning your lane. And I think that's just perfect, because that's exactly what it is here. As you can see, that Ficus has pushed so far forward here that there is now control over all these metal extractors, all the wreckages too that he's been able to eat up. All of that has gone back into his economy, and now it means that he is in a great position here to go well into that late game economy. Very nicely done, and it perfectly showcases exactly the point of that saying. Bull's counter-aggressing here, but that is a cherry D-gun right there. Commander will still go down, so that's good. At least those Bulls didn't die in vain, but still, D-gunning down a whole lot of those units is very nice, and you can see that is now Frosty UI as well as Hold My Weeds Commander, both falling right there in the middle of the map. This is a direct shunt to the forces here of the blue team. Yellow Hounds, I'm just now realizing the Yellow Hounds were in defense of this player over here. Starfisher Eco and Dark 10 are on the same team. Anyway, sorry for all of you who ran down into the comment section to correct me on that and then are now realizing that I have figured it out for myself. Hopefully you feel a little bit vindicated. Anyway, Hounds here are going to be going up against Sheldon. Sheldon have the range advantage, however, Hounds have a slight mobility advantage. They also, of course, have that Gauss mode, which allows them to engage against the swarm of units, the Protectorate units, I like to call them, the Class 1 units, as I typically group them. Shuriken will be used up north here. There is quite a lot of missile trucks, and those will shut a lot of this down. But, yeah, I mean, not bad still. There they go. The Shuriken do find a better angle here, and they are going to paralyze a whole lot of these maces. Very nicely done. All that's going to get shut down by these well, Mauser included in with this T1 army composition. There's missile trucks, there's Januses, there's Stouts, there's radar and radar jammers. Do those have a name? Oh yeah, they do have a name. That one's called Umbra. That one's called Prophet. Okay, cool. That's one of those names that I didn't bother learning. The radar jammer bots. I know one of them is called the Compass and one of them is called the Smuggler. I think that's the Armada radar bot and radar jammer bot. The Compass and the Smuggler, respectively, rather. Oh, these Mauser are getting such a lovely hit off right here. Oh, that's so painful. Yeah, those Mauser are so efficient with their firepower. Really able to just whittle away at this army. I mean, more like hog out material from this army. You can see that T1 evaporating into thin air under that oppressive Mauser fire. So painful. There go the missile trucks. There go the enemy Mauser even that were just turned the wrong way. Very difficult to deal with those Mauser. They are one of the most powerful siege units available in the Armada arsenal. Resbots are also included in here to eat up a whole lot of this metal, and I love it. That is very important. It's absolutely critical to sustaining the growth of your economy, and you can see it's exactly what's going on in the backline here as Ficus is constantly pumping out units, but also expanding the economy. Going for an anti-nuke here a little bit late into the game, 23 minutes, so certainly somebody could have had a nuke up and running by now, but for the time being, that anti-nuke will serve as the nuclear protection, at least for the northern part of this map. Still a little bit in danger here as Starfisher Eco, but for the most part, the central parts of his base are covered. Yeah, not bad. These Resbots are completely selling the story here, though. The Resbots are keeping this growth completely funded. Definitely making sure that there's enough build power is critical here, and so I love to see this T1 constructor going around doing all that. Building a metal storage, very nicely done. Ficus making all the right moves on the northern side of the map. Southern side, well, middle side, I guess, we'll take a look at next. We'll go top, middle, bottom. Keep our pattern going. The T1 bots are coming up to bear against T2 vehicles. Sorry, the T2 bots are coming up to bear against the T2 vehicles. And just like the T1 matchup, the T2 vehicles are very, very strong and will, in a direct, even fight, beat the T2 bots. So you have to get a little cheeky about the way that you engage here. Banisher is very, very powerful. Would love to see these firing away at long range, trying to connect their heavy siege missiles with some of these T2 bots that are just idling here for the forces of Dark 10. There was also a large engagement over here as well, it would appear. Lots of wrecked units from Resigio, who is still pumping out a lot of T1, but also has T2 underway as well. So everybody has stepped into that T2 phase, and I think that's definitely the right decision. Yeah. Hounds here, trying to engage against those Mauser, but they really don't have the advantage here. They have the benefit of a radar jammer bot, though, which does disguise them from the effects of radar technology, meaning that they're able to fire away here. Eventually, the Mauser are going to fire on that, though, and the radar jammer will be damaged, meaning that it will shut down, and the Mauser will have a field day raining on these Hounds. Oh my goodness, that is just devastating, those Hounds. Eventually, the Mauser fire support here will clean up the red Mausers, but what a hit to the Hound forces over here. Razorbacks have been steadily coming out of Starfisher, by the way. If you're wondering where the yellow forces have been, it is because Ficus is holding this line. Starfisher decided, well, no reason for me to stick around on T2. I might as well get all the way up into T3, and now has 3 Razorbacks out on the map. Very, very crucial that we use those Razorbacks in tandem with a big swarm of light, cheap units in order to not get D-gunned down, because that is an easy way to lose the advantage that Starfisher Eco has been building here in the last 5 minutes of this game. Sending out the ticks is nice. It's going to waste a lot of the artillery shots here, but eventually there's just enough Mauser, I do believe, to clean a lot of this up. Razorbacks are spotted for the first time, and these Mauser need to start firing. You can't really run away with them. That's the hard part about the Mauser, is you can't really disengage because, yeah, I mean, they won't fire if you turn them in the other direction. So you just have to fire and do as much damage as you can while they're in place and hope that the Razorbacks eventually go down here. Razorbacks dipping in and cleaning up a whole lot of that army. Bulls are now coming out to the front lines. We've decided to switch away from those cheaper Mauser and go into a heavier hitter, sort of a siege breaker, and that would be, of course, the Bull. Direct combat with the Bull is almost never a good one for the the alternate combatant, the non-Bull combatant. It is a dangerous piece of warfare equipment. Not sure why those Razorbacks aren't going in, though. The Razorbacks definitely could get a huge, huge value out if they would just push in here. There are some sharpshooters, and I think that might be enough to kill 1 Razorback per volley. But the Razorback are quite tough, and they are also quite fast. They're not, I mean, they're not the fastest cookie in the pickle jar, but they are definitely quick. They're not nearly as slow as some of those Cortex units, right? Like the Shiva or the Catapult or the Juggernaut even. But yeah, they're definitely no tech, that's for sure. Sharpshooters are within range here, and you can see them firing away, clicking down those Razorback here. Yeah, that's why why that tick swarm is so important here. I think if Ficus focuses a little more on the ticks, it could definitely be to his entire team's benefit here. Of course, those turrets are a little bit preoccupied right now, trying to patch up these Razorbacks, using this as sort of a forward repair station. When all said and done, I really think they would benefit a whole lot more from using those constructors to build ticks that would send through, first of all, clearing the minefield, but second of all, getting rid of some of those sniper shots so that the Razorbacks can actually push in effectively. Stalemate on the southern side. It looks like these units have kind of petered out here. We have T2 units finally going up here. Now there's 2 gauntlets. Okay, caught me by surprise there. Wasn't expecting that. Nice. All right. Little bit of firepower being shot all the way from the southern mountain, and it will take down that Ambassador. Ambassadors are a very powerful rocket launcher truck. They fire a direct fire rocket. Well, not a direct fire, an arced fire rocket up in the air and then down onto its chosen target. Similar in style to the Arbiter, but much slower. It is stealthy though, which is nice. It's a lesser known of its effect, but it is a very worthwhile one to mention. Will this gauntlet stand? This has been the crux of the defense down on the southern side. I think this gauntlet will, at the end of the day, manage to keep its life. Barely. Wow. 4% left on this bad boy. 32 kills to its name, and it will finally go down here. It's rare that I say this, but that gauntlet has certainly earned its place in the list of units that got value out in this game. As far as units that managed to make their metal cost worth something, that gauntlet was definitely one of them. And it's rare that a gauntlet gets its metal cost, gets the amount of value that it should out of itself. But that was a bold one, a brave one, and I definitely think it held on long enough to be well worth it. These two gauntlets are contenders, though, although they have twice as much metal to make up for here. 25,000 metal is nothing to scoff at. It's definitely a significant amount of economy if you were to, allocate it in such a way. Second advanced fusion reactor is up and running, and a third one is well underway here. We see exactly the right amount of advanced energy converters here working on these advanced these advanced fusion reactors, churning away at all that energy, turning it into juicy metal. Right now, the economy for the blue team is 588 versus the economy of the red, which is lingering around 800 or so. Looks like, depending on reclaim, it's going up and down all over the place. But yeah, right around 800 seems to be their economy. So about a 100 metal lead here for the red team. Most of that is probably coming out of these advanced fusion reactors in the background now that are now churning out energy and metal like it's nobody's business, pumping out those bulls like no tomorrow. And I really think it's about time we start tapping into 3T production. There's a sentence for you. Dyslexia is one hell of a drug. They said I'd never do it with my condition, but I decided, you know what? Against all odds, that T3 will come up eventually. Whoa, there we go. A little bit of a pause there, but it looks like eventually all was sorted out. Do we have any major changes? I don't believe so. At least I can't tell. Here's one. It looks like a player dropped out of the middle of the map, and so we are going to see Dark 10 taking over the vast majority of units right here. Looks like there's a lot of lag on this server too. Yeah, that's a lot of command delay. Sorry I missed it. Massive bombing run up north here. Did take out a large chunk of the energy converters and the wind turbines. Didn't manage to kill these advanced metal extractors, but within, I mean, a hair of their life there. 4% on that one, 3% on that one, 19% over there. That's a pretty good bombing run, and I would have liked it a lot more if we'd taken out these fusion reactors, but all said and done with that build power shut off, it's still going to be a decent advantage here. Oh, excellent bombing run right there. Cherry bombing run. Taking out all those sharpshooters is tremendous. That is going to be a huge advantage now, as these units won't have to contend with those sharpshooters whittling away at all that defense for quite some time. Sharpshooters are so difficult to build up en masse, but when you get them all bombed down like that, it is just tragic. Gunslingers now trying to find their value. Gunslingers get outclassed very quickly in T2. Gunslingers are one of those units that you can use when you're ahead to get more ahead. They're definitely a T2 unit that shines against T1 unit, but is just copper or maybe bronze against T2 at very best. They get outpaced by the Sheldon. They can both in walking speed and in firing speed. They get outclassed by hounds in damage potential, and so they will go down to those. And of course, any sort of vehicle is going to just have a field day ravaging through them. So yeah, they kind of really run out of their effective limit here, and I think that's exactly what Ragzin is realizing as those gunslingers get melted away. I think it's about time that we stop queuing these up and start going into a bit more of a mobile composition. Wouldn't mind seeing some welders out on the field. For 350 metal, you get an extremely durable bot. 190 for a sprinter is also very, very cheap. Those sprinters can get a huge amount of effect, and they're definitely one way to swing a game like this. You run by a couple of sprinters, and they can get into the back lines and do a tremendous amount of damage. Bombers, EMP bombers that is, are making their way down south here. They know that this composition over here isn't going to hold. There's an EMP missile. We could use the EMP missile. EMP missile would be absolutely huge right here. If we detonate this right on top of all these units, we could stun them all to hell, but it won't matter as the EMP bombers do come in to save the day. Going to try and EMP as much of this as possible. A lot of wasted EMP there, but still not bad. Going to paralyze quite a few of these Sheldon. There's still a lot of them. There we go. Not bad. Trying to keep this army stunned so that we can get some units over here to try and attack this. Nicely done by the Air Forces here of Starfisher Eco. Very, very well done in order to allow... Oh, that was a cherry hit right there. A lot of those this game. Very, very nicely done. Ambassador getting a perfect missile launch there, shutting down a whole lot of those units, forcing them to retreat off this line. Fighters are eventually pulled by the green player Plorthos here, but a little too late in those. Bombers have, as of yet anyways, yeah, they've definitely done their job. Harder to hit, a little bit more difficult to kill here when they're laying on the ground, so not too bad. And a lot of those fighters wasted their first volley of fire, and so will be shot out of the sky by the fighters now of Starfisher Eco. The gauntlet that could, trying its very best to hold on here against all odds, beyond all reason. This is a scary looking northern army here. That's Jaguars and Bulls mixed in together. The Bull on its own is very good against swarms of units, but if you include some of those Jaguars, I mean, it just gets even better, right? The Jaguar with its splash damage. We did reach a conclusion, by the way, in the comment section of one of those videos that I asked about as to what the damage type for a Jaguar should be called. And I think I like the answer that I received, which is effectively it's splash damage, because when it fires, it splashes onto the enemies near it, right? So it fires, and I'm trying to give you a good example here, but it fires and the enemies nearby get splashed with the lightning damage. So that's I think that's a perfect answer to that question. Starlight's here doing a great job of whittling through these forces. Bull's going to aggress here. And I like these, I like the tick swarm moving in. That's exactly what we need right now. Razorbacks are also going to make their way forward as well. A little bit disjointed from the force though, and I think that's kind of a bummer. I think we probably could have done a whole lot more here if those Razorbacks were included in this force just a little bit more proactively. Maybe even handing these over would be a better idea here. Yeah. Maybe if Ficus handed over these Razorbacks so that, if Starfisher Eco handed over these Razorbacks to Ficus, I think that might be a decent idea so that, yeah, all those units can attack with a little bit more coercivity. You get what I'm trying to say. Juno missile will pop down and that'll shut down a lot of those ticks running forwards. That's quite nice. Yeah, why not? Okay. Good maneuvers here on the northern side, holding as much as they can. There are pulsars being walked forward here. Pulsar after pulsar is being stepped forward here, and eventually we're going to build them right into the base of the northern blue players here. It's quite tricky to deal with. Economy is looking stunning here. 4 advanced fusion reactors is nothing to scoff at. There is still tons of advanced solar panels contributing 6,000 metal into the bank account of Ficus. Wouldn't mind seeing maybe another row of build towers being built up here and then starting up another row of advanced fusion reactors. Difficult to micro that, of course, so it's just a relatively minor nitpick on a extremely successful campaign up north. Middle of the map is going to be anchored down by a lot of these mammoths, which are not particularly threatening in and of themselves, but they're just so difficult to kill that it is almost never worth engaging them just because of how inefficient basically any unit you throw at them is going to trade. Sheldon numbers have been recuperated, and I am so displeased with the lack of use of this EMP launcher here. I mean, seriously, 2 EMP missiles right on top of all this, and you can imagine 1, 2, maybe 1, 2, 3, something like that. Paralyze all this, and you get a perfect engagement here every single time. Look at the range on this thing, by the way. This thing can hit all the way out into the forward outpost, the forward, I don't know, anchor points, I guess, of the enemy lines here. What a bummer that did not get utilized. That was a great idea to build that, and just unfortunately didn't end up being used strategically here. Sharpshooter's not bad. Those will eventually chip away at a lot of these units, but you need the vision in order to do it. And spy bots are kind of going to be the name of the game here. That's another excellent option. 2 spy bots could EMP this entire composition. Eventually sharpshooters are going to be able to fire here, one at a time. Oh, not sure exactly what fired away right there, but there was a ricochet shot or something. Somehow or another, some of the build power went down right there. Not the end of the world. Looks like they essentially got their job done. Advanced fusion reactors are up. Oh, posters are falling off of my walls, scaring the ever-living bejesus out of me. A little bit of damage was done here to the Sheldon, but I think all said and done, the blue player is probably happy with the way that engagement went. The creep of the pulsars is quite threatening here. Rattlesnake taking heavy fire from this ambassador, is firing up into that cliffside and trying to destroy it here. And I think eventually it will. Those rockets are very, very heavy. They do a massive amount of damage per rocket. And down goes the Rattlesnake, reduced to atoms. We're gonna need a jammer of some sort if we want to protect ourselves up there. Meanwhile, a swarm of grunts moving forward. We're switching back over to ticks. Actually, it looks like we just have a mixed composition. Is that what's going on? Yeah, it is. Okay. Mixed composition of ticks and grunts. Pawns, rather. Very, very nice, of course. That's going to be a nice boon to the fact that you can't push into those Junos without the proper unit, right? Any of those scout units are just going to be completely devastated. Sorry, my mind is wandering now, wondering if the other poster on my wall is about to fall down. It's got me all nervous. Banishers here, firing away at a lot of these Marauders. Uh-oh. Marauder do get on top of the Banisher, but that's pretty much exactly the unit that you're looking for. Yeah, okay. Landmine's also very good, and I think these Marauder will eventually be shut down. Yeah, Landmine doing a great job. All right, nice. That's going to be that little bit of a Marauder run by. Shut down here. Marauders coming out of Nox. Nuke is up in the air, and it is coming down. I wonder what we're targeting with it. We're targeting the blue forces over here. Nicely done. That does wipe away a large chunk of the forces here for the blue army. It's going to have to reconsolidate here on the front lines, and those Twitchers are going to have to get back to work trying to build up another army of Fiends. They can always build those Fiends on the front lines, of course, as you can see here. You can queue those up, and they are a very, very viable option. There's enough sharpshooters here that I think we're starting to spiral, but you need to get those in and trading out against basically whatever you can. Looks like there was a little bit of engagement over here. There's a couple of Razorbacks trying to move forward, but these Starlights, mixed in with the Mammoths. That's actually a very dangerous wombo combo. I like that quite a bit, actually, yeah. Mammoths plus Starlights is a very powerful combo. The Mammoths, of course, very tanky, extremely resilient, and the Starlights high in DPS. So I think those together, definitely a very, very viable solution to many of your problems across the battlefield. I talk about this often, but it bears repeating, is the fact that when you're building a composition of units, oftentimes what people get hung up on is the type of unit that you should build, right? This is a siege unit, this is an assault unit, this is, you know, X type of unit. When, in my opinion, I think the best way to think about it is to think about it in terms of capabilities. Think about what your composition is currently capable of doing. And for instance, if you don't have any sort of high-arcing siege potential, you might consider going for ambassadors. You might consider going for hovercraft, those hovercraft rocket launchers, something like that. If you don't have any sort of armor potential and no durability, you might go for Thors or Titans. Whereas if you just want raw damage per second, you're probably going to go for Razorbacks here. That's why compositions tend to work out a lot better than just swarms of units in this game, because it opens up a more diverse pathway for success rather than having to just march through with sheer unadulterated force. Razorbacks will be EMP'd here. It's nice little paralysis, but the Thors do not care about EMP. They're more than happy to just take those EMP beams on the head, EMP bombs on the head, I guess. Eventually, these pulsars are going to get shot down by the lightning cannons out of that Thor as well. It's going to be all she wrote for these forces down here. Not bad. Yep, that's looking pretty dangerous there for those forces up north. Meanwhile, down south, ooh, a lot of these just got ravaged here, these sharpshooters. Sharpshooters here getting jumped on by a lot of these Sheldon and Fiends, and that will be a lot of them going down. A very expensive army to lose, and I fear for the sake of Prigazin, because he does not really have anything to shut down the oncoming Shiva. It's exactly what those sharpshooters were for, and no longer has them, so things are starting to look a little bit dire. We're in that classic scenario where one team swings in one direction and wins that lane, the other team swings in the other direction and tries to win that lane, and it essentially turns into a race who can kill the other players faster. It's a tricky one, but it is very, very interesting to see. Oh, a lot of these sharpshooters going down here to the Shiva. The forward fusion reactors is a little bit risky for exactly this reason. The Shiva do make it far enough forward to start laying down firepower, and those advanced fusion reactors do pop like an overdrawn bull. That's going to be all she wrote here for the economy of Prigazin. Now, that's not to say he's out of this game entirely. There is still a little bit of economy back here. Some advanced solar panels and energy converters and whatnot, but definitely not enough to really contend with T3. And with these Shiva moving in here, I have a feeling that it's not going to be long before we see the death of a man in 4K. There we go. Shiva ravaging this base, and indeed, that will be our brown player tapping out of this match here. Energy converter's about to light up like crazy. There we go. Build power, solar panels, basically everything. Razorbacks eventually pulled to deal with the units down here, but there's not really a great option for it. Many of them are EMP just as well as the enemy units, and a Thor is not going to be EMP just as we saw up north, so fat chance of that. Well, the inclusion of the res bots, of course. That's going to be very nice here. Whoops. Sorry about that. Trying to fix my sound settings a little bit. Let's try this. Reduce the sound there by just a hair. There we go. I've been tinkering with sound settings for a little while now. Basically all day, actually. The last video was too quiet, and then the sound settings got all messed up. There was an issue with the desync. It's just been an absolute nightmare. I appreciate your patience, bearing through it with me. That is a lot of pulsars. The northern side will not be broken. This Thor is being surrounded here. Trying to be surrounded at the very least. There's a Shiva in the backline though. Yep, it's gonna start launching its rockets. There they go. Crashing down upon the forces over here. There go the energy converters. A little premature on that, but that's okay. Where was that? Where was that from? Is that this guy? No. Not sure exactly where that LRPC shot came from, but alright. Oh, it was over here. Wow, okay. Nox's LRPC almost killing his allies' eco center back here. That was quite close. But this is still anybody's game. There's a large open no man's field right in the middle here. Certainly a couple of units streaming through in this direction could be quite viable. Or streaming through in this direction could be quite viable. Either one of those would allow you to aggress into the purple player's base, relieving pressure from the northern side, relieving defense from the northern side. Razorbacks here. Don't want to look at that advanced fusion reactor anymore. I do like that we're trying to use the missile here, the EMP missile. Those Razorbacks will move out of the way. That was quite a good call there, though. Trying to use that EMP missile to stun some of those Razorbacks, catch some prey so that Thor can easily jump on top of all that. Big fighter clash here. And that is effectively the fighter forces from both teams completely removed. Although I do like the fighter production from Porthos quite a bit more. Yeah. Going into well and away many of those T2 fighters here, the High Winds. Very, very good fighter. I mean, basically the top of the ladder in terms of fighters. EMP bombers here getting an excellent trade, dropping that EMP payload on whatever they can over on this side of the map, making sure to shut down a whole lot of it, slowing this push by so much here. I don't even really mind the pulsar creep. I just think we should continue to creep it forward, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just keep moving them forward piece by piece, and I think eventually you are actually going to be in a really good spot there. Maybe I'll turn that down a little too. See how that does. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. Let me know down in the comment section if I just made things better or if I just made things worse. Love to hear from you guys. It's difficult to tune because the late game is so much louder than the early game. There's just always so much more going on. A couple of grunts have run through here. There are some EMP bombers shutting that down. Trying, at the very least, to shut all that down. Come on, you can do it. One more to eat up here for Sugio. Okay, he's a little preoccupied. Sizable forces moving in on all sides here. Titan will be used as sort of a line breaker, but it doesn't manage to do its job. It just goes down as there's just too much firepower over here. That is a heavy hit. At this point, the economies are beginning to become gargantuan. We're looking at those proper late game economies, the ones that you see at the end of a game and go, ah, yes, that is where I lost. I didn't build 20 advanced fusion reactors, and 80 advanced energy converters. That's the kind of economy that we're going into now. There is a Mercury here, firing away at whatever it can. I don't think it's quite within range of those fighters, so it's not going to be able to whittle away at that air wall. But certainly, if any of them are pulled, it's going to be more than happy to fire away at those bad boys. EMP bombers again getting so much value here. EMP bombers have just been the name of the game this go around here. Very epic clash. That will be the Shiva mopped up quite nicely. As far as options here, the biggest one on my mind would be to go for a killer bombing run. There's a lot of fighters, and both teams know about that, but going for maybe 20, 30, 40 of those T2 heavy bombers certainly would be able to make the distance, make the trip across the front line here and into the base of some of these players. You don't need to completely destroy them, you don't need to hit an advanced fusion reactor, but you definitely want to shut down their production structures. So take out their T2, take out their fusion reactors, take out whatever you can to completely shut off their unit production, and then you know that whatever you're trading out, all the units that you're trading out, they're not in vain. They will get you some sort of value out eventually. Advanced fusion reactors coming up here is quite nice for Figus, and he will eventually go into T3. That's nice to see. Yeah, I was a little worried we weren't stepping into T3 here, but I guess just going to greed a little bit harder and then go into T3. Bit of an odd T3 lab placement, but, you know, gotta have a little bit of spice mixed in there. Nuclear chamber is charged here, but there's not an excellent target for it. Could target over here again. Wouldn't be the end of the world. Yeah. Wouldn't mind seeing that. We do have 4 missiles queued up right now, so we might as well use them somewhere. Cheeky Titan trying to sneak its way through. Kind of a lack of scouting right now is what I'm noticing. Here's the bomber run I was talking about. Absolutely what we're looking for here. Well, kind of. The bombers do manage to take out the eco, but they definitely should have just targeted onto this advanced fusion reactor cluster. There we go. A couple of those bombers doubling back around and re-delivering their payloads, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. 14? Maybe. Do we have enough bombers to finish that mission? Oh, they're not focused right now. Oh, no. That is an unfortunate bit of missed micro. Might not be the end of the world, though. There we go. Okay. All said and done, it is going to be Dark 10 running out of units. Well, running out of air units anyway, any sort of anti-air production. And that's going to mean that, at least for the time being, their massive economy is shut down here. There are still fusion reactors and advanced fusion reactors and even some metal extractors left alive in the background here, but certainly nowhere near the production capabilities that they just recently had. Titans and Razorbacks make for a one hell of a potent combo. They can do a tremendous amount of damage per second. They can also deal with Swarm because of those Razorbacks. The Titan's laser is great for beaming down really key structures. Makes them a very valuable part of any composition here. Vanguard firing away, also very useful. Going to be targeting down some of those sharpshooters, which is always lovely. Vanguard, I do believe, outranged sharpshooters by quite a bit. Yeah, 1325 versus 900. So yes, the sharpshooters are outranged by the Vanguard by quite a lot. Makes sense for a T3 unit. I always overestimate the sharpshooter, but yeah, gotta remember, gotta put it in its place. Whoa. Nuclear airburst there, as the nuke was launched, but it was intercepted by an anti-nuclear missile. Resurrected Razorbacks. Now there's a term that just flows right off the tongue. Also building a lot of jammers here, which is actually quite nice. Those long-range extended jammers are going to allow for your units to move forward without being detected. It's a underrated, underappreciated part of the game, but yeah, building those forward jammers can be very, very powerful. Take a look at the blue player's view here. You can see that the radar coverage essentially covers everything over here, meaning that there's not really going to be much of a radar signature available for practically any of these blue units that are just lurking, waiting for their time to strike. Razorbacks are seen. A Razorback with a halo on its head is an absolute tragedy. Wow, a lot of pawns did actually manage to run through here and do a little bit of damage. Not bad. Eventually going to be mopped up because there's just too many oppressors. Oppressors, what am I thinking of? Pulsars. Oppressor, what is that unit from? Suddenly I'm thinking about it in a completely different game and I can't even remember what it is. Well, anyway. Let me know if that's the name of a unit in one of the games that you're playing, because I just cannot even remember where on earth I got that name from. GTA? Is that what it is? I haven't played GTA in years. I'd be surprised if that's what suddenly came to mind. Anyways. We do have Razorbacks, resurrected Razorbacks, which is now my new favorite phrase, coming into play here, and they're up on the northern side, going to be whittling away at whatever they can. Not the end of the world. Shiva eventually going to drive them back, killing a lot of those Twitchers there, which is also very nice. They were trying to set up a Persecutor, but that will be shut down. And eventually, maybe not. I was going to say the Razorbacks might be killed here, but they will pull back in time. Resbots, of course, are also capable of repairing, which means that they can patch up all of these Razorbacks and get them back on their feet in no time. Well, I guess they're already on their feet. Get them back in ship shape. Resurrected Titan, a little bit more important here. Karganeth also getting up on top of this hill. Look for a cheeky way to get into the enemy's base here, and I guess climbing over the hills is one such way. At this point, it looks like we have nuclear arms for both teams, as we do have the Catalyst here for the, or sorry, the Apocalypse here for the purple player, and we have several Armageddons here for the yellow player. Maybe thinking about trying to overwhelm anti-nuke defenses. You need quite a bit of them. I think it's like 7 of them. 7 or 8 of them, depending on the length of the map too. The total distance that the nukes have to travel, the total travel time. You're gonna need, yeah, I mean, just a gargantuan amount of nukes. It's a very heavy investment. Essentially, the only way that it pays out is if you catch your enemy by surprise. Usually the only way that ends up working out. Now right here, there is only a single anti-nuke covering this small section of the map, so if we manage to scout, that would be a cheeky little place to try and sneak a nuke through. Other devious locations might include somewhere up north here, although your choices are a little bit more slim. Maybe somewhere back here. Razorbacks all over the place. Titans now marching out in force. We do have that Titan Razorback composition, and I wasn't kidding. It's very powerful. Excellent at shutting down spams of units, right? So you can shut down ticks, you can shut down pawns, you can shut down grunts, you can shut down basically anything with the Razorbacks. And then you have the Titans to deal with anything that might be a little bit tankier. The Razorbacks and the Titans also very maneuverable, meaning that they're capable of getting that flanking bonus relatively easily. EMP does not work on the Behemoth, unfortunately. It is completely EMP resistant. The Behemoth is one of those units that you just have to fear. There is no other appropriate response other than fear for this bad boy. It is just devastating to go up against. Now, don't get me wrong, pulsars are absolutely the right defense for this guy. We can see they shave off about 2 or 3% every time that they fire. Oh my goodness, the Behemoth is just such a dangerous unit. There the pulsar firing away. You can see it just destroys anything that it comes within contact with. Down it eventually goes. Enough pulsars were built here to blast down the Behemoth, but man, did it take a lot. That was quite a struggle there for those pulsars. Impressive that they managed to kill it. Typically, static defense is not able to kill a Behemoth, so that's rather impressive. I hear Juggernauts. Ah, there it is. The mighty Juggernaut of Hold My Weed has now made its way across the map. It is firing into the base here. Juggernaut does, of course, have that heat ray, which can ignore the deflector shield here. I was gonna say the anti-nuke shield, but the plasma deflector here. EMP not gonna work against this bad boy. This is looking real bad. Real bad for the southern side. I did see a Ragnarok coming up and running here, so we are going to, in just a minute or so, have a Ragnarok firing away into the blue team's bases. This is a definite game ender. Certainly. Pulsars here trying their best. Love when they fire into one of these crowds of T1 trash and they just cleave through. The units running to their graves as that laser just slices through. I almost wish the pulsar could move. I wish it could, like, angle the beam, you know what I mean? Maybe make it work a little bit more like the beamer turret. I don't know. I'm just theory crafting here. Maybe they make it too powerful. Shiva are looking relatively healthy down south. They will be EMP'd, but still relatively healthy. Blue forces are sweeping from down under, though. Things are not looking good here for both teams. This northern side is about to be hit with an unrelenting hail of long-range plasma cannon fire, whereas the southern side of the red team is about to be overwhelmed by the sheer oppression of T1 and T2 forces. Volume of fire. It's a guardsman's dream. These guys are unanswered here, and yeah, I mean, sure, it's a hero grunt right there, gonna take down an advanced fusion reactor all on his own. Maybe a little help from his brothers. Will be the last thing he ever does. That is one more advanced fusion reactor going down here for the red team. Ragnarok does start firing away. There go the fusion reactors. There go the energy converters, the build power. Basically everything goes down here for Bite My Assets. Ragnarok is going to have to get a lot of damage in real quick, and it is certainly hitting the right targets. Uh-oh. Well, not anymore, it isn't. Focusing fire in the wrong locations here. We definitely need some scout planes in order to deal with this. Uh-oh. Yeah, there's no scouts here, so we don't actually have proper vision of where we should be firing the Ragnarok. Yeah, that's a bummer. Now it's going to start firing into the base of green. Takes a minute to break through these shields, but it will eventually shatter them. I think it takes like 5 shields in order to reflect the shots of a Ragnarok. If he just sustains the fire long enough and kills these advanced fusion reactors, it's going to be a-okay here. It's just a matter of when. There they go, all the advanced fusion reactors popping. That's going to be the purple player's base completely eliminated. Bulwarks were set up here, so I guess that's why the units weren't going to be used. This thing is ravaging the defenses, though. Here's another base, chain reacting right there. 2 bases, effectively. Chain reacting right there. And this thing is not done yet. It is a weapon of sheer destruction. The southern push is looking pretty steady, though. Yeah, I gotta say. Plasma deflectors launching balls of plasma in every direction. Condensed matter projectiles, I like to call them. May it be lore accurate? Who knows? Is it scientifically possible? I have no idea. Does it sound cool? I sure think so. There goes some of the energy converters. Space is in a whole lot of trouble. Pinpointers go down. Fusion reactors are going down. Things are slowly dying to death. Southern side holding on for dear life. It's a lot of anti-air, but there's actually not a lot of units over here. A couple of Thors. Very scuffed up Thors, I should say. It's looking bad, but I wouldn't say it's looking over. Southern side just needs to go for a push. There is a revived Juggernaut that is moving into the base over here. Yeah, there's not a great answer here for the red team. There's 3 commanders left. One of them is on the front lines. Another of them, well, both of the other ones are waiting in the back lines by their economies here. I think these commanders need to start moving down south to try and deal with this Juggernaut. There's just no other unit that's going to be able to deal with it. You need to dig on that thing, as well as these Titans that are moving forward, too. I didn't even see those. 4 Titan brothers are going to be stepping forward, and those are very powerful. Yeah, I'm a little bit scared here. Scared for the southern side of the red team. Certainly those Titans and that Juggernaut are going to have a field day pushing in there. Ragnarok blasting away any of the static defenses that it can, taking down bulwarks, taking around basically anything. A couple of stealth tanks here will accidentally reveal themselves. Yep, there they go. All right, 3 of them in total make it through. Not bad. These Titans have made it in. Uh-oh. There are some pulsars here to try and fire at this Juggernaut, but it's definitely made it too far already. It does explode in a massive bout of fire. These green units can continue moving. Uh-oh, having a little bit of an APM stall here. Yeah, that's a bummer. Certainly should keep moving here. There's pulsars firing away at them, but is it going to be enough? I don't think so. Yeah, at least not to save those advanced fusion reactors. There they go. Chain reacting, causing a massive chain reaction over into this base. It also blows up all of those pulsars. That's actually all the base defense here. This Titan could move in for the kill on the orange player here. Oh, can it not go up that ramp? Oh, that's just tragic. Titan can't go up that ramp, so it has to reroute around in a different direction. That is just a bummer. Yikes. Fighters will move forward here. Ragnarok firing away at whatever it can, but it's sort of run out of juicy targets. Yeah, there's bases back here, but I don't think Ficus has the view of them. No, not at all. Doesn't have vision, doesn't have the intel necessary to run a, to run one of these lull cannons. Suddenly the southern side of the red team is in a whole lot of trouble. Nachobane's commander going to detonate, causing a huge chain reaction, and that is going to be the orange base completely annihilated as well. Nukes are going to be launched all over the place over here. Interesting. That's not really where the threat is, but I guess taking out all of the everything in that direction isn't too bad. Oh, look at this Scuttle army moving forward. 16 Scuttles grouped up together. A single blast will annihilate all of these. They're also on fire at will. Oh no. Oh goodness, if a single unit moves too close here, this is a walking thermonuclear bomb just waiting to go off. Yikes. Oh no. Immediate chain reaction, but it will be too much for the red team. Despite the Ragnarok up and running and laying into these bases over here, they will tap out. What a close match right there. Those forces on the southern side refusing to give up, and meaning that the blue team will, after a hard-fought battle on Bismuth Valley, take the lead. Ficus getting the golden cow, but still clutching defeat from the jaws of victory. What a match. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you take a second to hit the like button down below. It really helps that algorithm, of course, pick these up and show them out there to the whole world. Always helps the Beyond All Reason community grow, as well as the Brightworks community grow, which I'm always happy to see. Love meeting new people and hearing from you down below in the comments section. As far as that goes, though, I will let you go, and I hope you have a rest. I hope you have a rest of your day. No, I hope you have a great rest of your day. I will see you in the next daily upload video. Peace out, folks.